everyone. Good morning. I am here with Martin today, and we have an interesting and exciting topic, and it's called Your Zone of Genius. And I'm really excited to learn more about this and really how everyone can tap into their zone of genius. I think that's important. But first, I always like to invite anybody who's listening to go ahead and comment. Let us know where you're listening from. I know I invited people from all over the world and all across the country today to join in on our show. So go ahead and drop a chat. Let us know where you're from, what country or state. And if you're open to connect, use this as a networking opportunity as well. Why not? Right. But then beyond that, when Martin starts to talk again, he's the subject matter expert on the zone of genius and what that means. So, as he's speaking, if you have any questions, go ahead and feel free to drop them in the chat as well. And we will try to address them as we go. But good morning, Martin. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Tara. I'm doing fantastic. It is so wonderful. I got up this morning. I was so excited to be on this show with you, going live to talk about my very favorite subject, and that is how do we get into our zone of genius. And so we'll dive in whenever you're ready. But I'm just excited to be here, and it's my favorite subject. I am a zone of genius coach, and it's my specialty, and I'm really excited because my mission is to get everybody on the planet into their zone of genius all the time.
Wow, I can only imagine. It sounds so exciting. But it's almost like tapping into your purpose too, because would you
Absolutely.
agree with that?
That's exactly what it's all part of it. When I got into when I actually went from being in a place of fear and doubt and scarcity up in my head, thinking I'm not really good enough and all, I had to let all that go and come into what I call heart space, zone of genius. And I found my purpose. And my purpose is to help the world get into their zone of genius. Because
Wow.
I can tell you that since I started working in my zone of genius and living in my zone of genius, my life has become wildly exciting. And I want your life to become wildly exciting too. Because what we do is we let go of all these negative energies, all these beliefs about we're not good enough and all this nonsense. And we actually step into a higher level of consciousness. The zone of genius is a field beyond the mind where our brains operate in tandem with, in sync with infinite intelligence, as Napoleon Hill talks about in his famous book, Think and Grow Rich.
Well, Napoleon Hill, I love his work. I just got finished with Think and Grow Rich again, and then I also read Work Your Own Miracles, his other book, just
Uh-huh.
recently, and that book blew my mind. That there, it's almost as if it was written just yesterday, and it was so
Yes.
long ago, right? But when you have that relevancy, it doesn't change. The science doesn't change, does it? That's amazing.
Yeah, these are the universal truths of energy, frequency, and vibration. And Nikola Tesla said we can understand everything in the universe by understanding energy, frequency, and vibration. Everything is made up of energy. And it's all vibrating at various frequency. And the highest vibrational frequency is the frequency of unconditional love that's created everything in the universe. And that is our zone of genius. And we
Wow.
all we all sort of naturally fall into most of us that are coaches and change agents and changes in the leaders in the world, we all sort of naturally fall into our natural zone of genius. I'm a coach, for example. When I'm in my coaching, I'm in my zone of genius, but I'm not particularly great at sales, for example. So that's better for my business partner who is a natural entrepreneur salesperson in his zone of genius. But what I'm going to say is this: when I'm willing to let go of the reins of that and see that somebody I need help, then I begin to work collectively with other people in their zone of genius, and that's how we change the world.
I could not agree more. I love the word collective. It's so important. And it's not about being good at everything. And as an entrepreneur, that was one of the hardest lessons I personally had to learn was to leave my ego at the door, and it wasn't serving me anyway. And there's no way I could be good at every single thing. And then it's so much better to just let a specialist, let somebody who's naturally gifted at something do that, let them operate in it, and really let them flourish. Otherwise, you're going to stretch yourself thin, you're going to dilute yourself. And it's not serving anybody, especially yourself, right?
No, I mean, that's why it's so important that all of us that are, I mean, what kills me, what I just can't understand are all these solopreneurs. I'm going to tell you something. You cannot
Mm.
make any impact on the world if you don't have a team working with you, at least one virtual assistant that's got your back. You got a hobby. You don't
Yes.
have a business.
Yeah.
If you want a business, you got to invest in it. You got to invest in yourself. You got to invest in coaching. You got to invest in a team. You got to invest in a team that's going to put the entire team in their zone of genius. Because if you're operating by yourself out there as a solopreneur, you're not operating in your zone of genius. It's impossible. You don't have the bandwidth. So what you're saying, we've got to take it from two sides. We've got to be able to get ourselves into our zone of genius, and we've got to be able to get our team, our work team, depending whether it's one or 500. If you're a leader, you've got to have the schools to get yourself and to help bring your whole team into their zone of genius so that you can make the impact you want to make in the world.
Wow. So such powerful wisdom there, Martin. So how so everyone has a purpose. I'm a full firm believer in that. Everyone has a purpose, everyone has a story. There's a reason why everyone is here on this planet right now. But how do you find that purpose, that zone of genius, and how do you let go of those limiting beliefs that are keeping you back and telling you that you're not a genius at something, that somebody's better at it than you are, and things like that? How do you let go of all of these distractions?
Well, first of all, I love the question because it's so timely. On November 14th, I'm giving a free workshop to help people do exactly that. It's called the LGBTQ plus, our allies, uh, getting into your zone of genius. Connect, and I'll teach you exactly that. And those elements are exactly right. The biggest key is knowing who you are, that you're not just this human, you're actually much back to energy. We're actually human beings are the same creative life force that's created everything in the universe. So when you become aware that you're so much more than just Martin Coward or Tara, there's a living light of energy within us that is the creator. And when we tap into that zone, into that frequency, we're in our zone of genius. So
Wow.
the first step is to really get clear about who you are as a human being. And I would say probably almost 90% of problems we face is based on a story we're telling ourselves of who we are as human beings that is simply not true. We're telling ourselves we're not good enough, we're not smart. That ego shadow is always attacking. Whether it's imposter syndrome, it's some story that we got going on in our heads that's standing between us and our zone of genius. That's the first thing you got to do is get clear about who you are. Once you get clear about who you are, it's almost like magic. The universe will show you exactly why you're here. And so the second part we do in that workshop is we help you define your purpose. Why are you here? You're here. You came into the planet as a human being for a purpose. And when you know that, when you know who you are, and when you know that divine purpose, when you know why you're here with so much clarity, then that becomes your North Star and that becomes your guide. So
Wow.
that's the second thing. And then the third thing that's important that we're going to teach in our class, it's free, by the way, it's 5 days, it's all free. The third thing is how do you get in there? What do you do every single day to start your day in your zone of genius? Because I'll tell you something, if you start your day in your zone of genius, because you're going to get knocked out.
Yeah.
Things are going to come up. You're going to get a bill from the IRS, or you're going to get somebody telling you can't do this, or you're going to get blocked from your Facebook account. Something is going to happen that's going to knock you out of your zone of genius.
Yeah.
So if you start your day in your zone of genius by a simple meditative practice to get into the zone of genius, I don't know any better way to get there than meditation, quite frankly. Then when you get knocked out during the day, you can easily just take a break, take a pause, and get yourself right back in and go about your business. So you don't spend your time upset and frustrated and say, "Oh God, I knew I wasn't worth it. I knew here I got this bill from the IRS. I knew I wasn't worth this piece of nothing." We all go into that because we're human. So the key is to let go of that story we're telling ourselves that comes up when we get triggered, and say, well, no, I'm really the creative force of the universe. I've got all the power to create what I want. And
Yeah.
I'm going to let go of that, and I'm going to get back in my zone of genius.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's so true. It's, I personally believe that we are, a spirit body inside of our third dimensional
Yeah,
body as well. But we are spiritual creatures. And because of that, we are infinite. But we're also made out of star stuff. And you hear, astronomers talk about that, but even, the basics of our bodies, they're ancient. They're made out of the same materials that stars are made out of,
exactly.
right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
there's an infinite nature to our body and spirit, right?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
amazing.
there's not an infinite nature to the body. The body is only going to be here for maybe if we're on the long side, we might be here a little 100 years. But the body does have a finite lifetime. But the spirit, the energy, the creative energy, life force that created us is infinite, and we just keep coming. We just keep that that soul, what you want to call it, I don't, that soul, that energy, that spirit is always coming back into life form for a specific purpose. And so when we get out of our own sort of separateness as being Martin Coward, the human being, and we begin to align with our spiritual nature, then we get into that zone of genius. And the great thing about being in the zone of genius, and what I talk about, is one of the things that keeps people out of the zone of genius, particularly people who are coaches and other things, is money and
Mm,
finances. The people worry more of nothing can take you out of your zone of genius faster than money and finances. And so what I really emphasize is we all get into our zone of genius as coaches by doing what we do naturally. But what if we could get into our zone of genius to handle things that we struggle with, like our finances? Maybe it's relationships. Some people have a really hard time having romantic relationships. What if you could get into your zone of genius and begin to date and court and connect with others from the place of love, that zone of genius? So what we really want to be able to do in our lifetime is not just go into our zone of genius when we naturally were painters or artists or musicians. This is what I coach is how do you expand this attitude that you're in your zone of genius in everything that you do?
wow. It sounds, for so many people, they're just so, and you're right about the whole money thing and finance. We put so much of our worth based on what we have in our bank account, based on our job title, based on, whatever position we have in our company. That's not you. That's not who you are. That's not what makes you, purposeful, right? And you're right. When we get those bills or those letters, it's unpleasant and nothing can knock you out quicker, and, diminish your sense of self-worth more than putting your worth in the wrong place.
I
Don't you
love that. I love that we put our worth in the wrong place
think?
and we spend our whole life trying to prove we're worthy by being successful and making lots of money.
Yeah. Yep.
What I want to talk about some people today who are billionaires. There are so many great billionaires today. Oprah Winfrey, Ray Dalio, who are doing great things in their um, Steve Jobs, all the people that have created and served the planet by getting into there have changed the world. Not by being selfish and making. I mean, Oprah Winfrey, for God's sake, she didn't have the same age. She was born a poor black woman in the South with very little opportunity for the future. Today, she is one of the wealthiest, most powerful women in the world. Or something like, I don't know, $7 billion or some crazy number. I mean, she's done it all by being in that zone of genius. Because when we're in our zone of genius, we're living our purpose. We're serving the world. We're making the world better. We always know when we're in our zone of genius because it's not about us. It's not coming from that narcissistic me. It's coming from that place of the new era of me, of we. We're living in a world for the betterment and for other people and to serve others. And that's when we're the happiest, and that's when we're in our zone of genius.
I love that. And when you are living in your purpose too, when you're aligned with your purpose, you're also a magnet. Don't you agree? You're a magnet.
Mhm.
It's a
Yeah.
magnetism that you have because other people want that same energy. What
Yes.
they look at you and say, whatever it is about you, I want to be around you. It's a magnetism of sorts. And it really does help you. Even I know that, money does not define your happiness, but it will make you more successful because people want to be around you. They want to work with somebody that has that magnetism and quality, right? That is aligned with their purpose. Don't you
Right.
agree?
I completely agree. And I think that money can be a measure, can be like Oprah Winfrey. Her
Yeah.
money is not a measure of her value as a person. Her money is a measure of the significant impact she's made on the planet during her lifetime.
Yes.
Elon Musk, for God's sakes, look
Yes.
at what he's done. He's the richest man in the world. This is a new form of billionaire. I think. I don't know what this is the era I'm living in. And look at what he's done. He has used his love and his passion for science and technology and space to move the whole planet toward a more environmentally friendly types of transportation with cars and going to the moon and all kinds of crazy things. But he's moving the world forward with the money he's creating by the changes he's making in the world, like a cell phone. I
Mhm.
mean, you know, we there's nothing wrong with becoming a billionaire if you created something that actually changed the world.
Exactly.
I'm glad you created $1 billion of significant impact on the planet.
Exactly. And how many people probably told him he was crazy,
Oh, I'm sure
that
everybody
his
did.
ideas were way too far in advanced and that no one would grab hold of them and that they wouldn't work. And the rocket, for example, just that one invention, it was never a renewable thing before Elon, right? So now he has created a rocket that can be launched multiple times as opposed to just a one-off.
Mhm.
That was never conceivable before. And he proved everyone wrong because he's operating in his zone of genius.
Exactly. And he is collectively bringing other people in to work with him to collaborate in their zone of genius. That's, you said earlier, the beauty of collaboration and collective effort is and attracting. So when I'm working in my zone of genius, I'm attracting people who want to be on my team, who want my coaching and all that kind of stuff because they want to be in this zone of genius.
I love that. That is so powerful. So, what would you say for somebody that, maybe they're looking for work, or maybe they're stuck in a job that, they might not feel like they're living purposefully, or they're not happy, they're not fulfilled in life. Um, what what kind of advice could we give someone today? Because I do want to everyone watching to walk away with at least one piece of really good advice that they can take and apply today to change their life. So what would
One
you say?
thing I would suggest everybody do, first and foremost, is to start with some daily practice to get into your zone of genius. And there is, I mean, I teach this stuff, but you don't have to come to me. There is, in every single success coach, Tony Robbins, everybody talks about some morning power hour to get into your zone of genius, whatever you want to call it. That is the most important thing because everything else is secondary. And you can go on, there's just infinite meditations out there that can help you get into your zone of genius. So just go find that, or you can take my course. But I'm just trying to give you something that anybody can do without involving anybody but you and the internet and your morning power hour. But I think if you could start your day, and all of a sudden, what will begin to happen is you'll tap into that intuition, that deeper intuition within you that will begin to guide you. And then all of a sudden, what you'll see is that people will begin, and this is the problem. We're looking for the opportunities, but we can't see them because we're living in fear. fear, like I don't have enough money. So we're looking for clients to pay us money. All the opportunities are right in front of us in our field of infinite potential, but we can't see them because we got fear in our head. It's blocking us from our zone of genius. So the first thing you have to do is you've got to find a practice, a simple daily practice. Start every single day. And you know what it is for me? The first 10 minutes is this. I just get up and I put on some coffee. I sit down, I drink my coffee, I get still, and I just listen and wake up with the day. I wake up my zone of genius with the day. I don't do any kind of fancy ohms or anything else. I just simply wake up. And then I'll do some spiritual reading, and I'll do a meditation, some other things to get into my zone of genius. But all I really do is just get still and quiet and listen to my intuition.
Wow, that's so powerful. And you hit on a lot of wisdom right there, but one of them is something I preach constantly, which is opportunity is all around us. I don't care who you are. Opportunity is there for everyone. Some people have blinders on and they cannot see it. And the reason is because they're living in fear and a limited mindset, right? With limited mobility. And it's fear-based. And that fear, and the way I describe it is fear is an anchoring emotion. So just like a ship's anchor, when a ship casts an anchor out in the sea, it keeps it right there and it does
Mhm.
not move. Fear is an anchor that keeps you right there. It keeps you immobile. So while those opportunities are right there, you might not be able to see them because of the fear and its blinding properties. Don't you agree?
That is, I love the analogy. I've never thought about it as the anchor of a boat, but you're right. It's what's got the fear is what's got you, and the fear is so subtle, you're not even aware of it sometimes.
Yeah.
You're not even aware that it's fear. We offer people opportunities all the time. They tell me they're stuck or they got a problem. I say, well, here's an opportunity. I'm going to give you a free this. No, I'm not interested.
Yep.
They're not seeing the opportunity because they're afraid of something.
Yes.
Well, what they're really afraid of is they're afraid of what they might find out about themselves. But what they're really going to find out about themselves is that they're these beautiful, powerful, creative, loving human beings. But they got so much fear that they're not something that they're of who they're not. They're so they're so full of fear of what they're not.
Yeah.
They can't see the truth of who they are.
That is so powerful, and I've wondered that for so long, and you just taught me something. But there is a fear there, and maybe it is because they're afraid of something they'll find out within themselves.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I've never thought about that before.
Yeah, let's don't give fear a bad name. We need that fear. We need that energy. We need the light and the dark. Because as human beings, if we were just light, we'd just be floating out into the space. But but to serve our purpose, we need to hit up against something energetically. And we can transmute that fear into love. That's what we're doing. And that's how we change the world. We transmute that fear, that negative fear energy. We use that. Maybe it makes me angry that I got this. So if I say, okay, I can be angry and I can be in resistance and I can fight it. Or I can say, wait a minute, what am I here to learn? What's the opportunity? Because when you're in your zone of genius, everything is an opportunity. Everything. The fear is an opportunity to transmute that energy into love, which is the creative power of the universe. So we welcome that fear. We welcome that shit because then it points us exactly to what we need to do, what we need to move out of the way so we can get into our zone of genius.
Wow, that is so powerful, Martin. And again, it's so true. It's about transmuting. So
It's transmuting,
transmuting
yeah.
is turning an energy into it's almost like alchemy, right?
It's
So
exactly what it is alchemy. It is the spiritual alchemy of unconditional love is what it is.
wow, that is so powerful. Anybody listening to this program right now, if you feel like you are tapped into your zone of genius, or if you have any tricks to get into your zone of genius throughout the day, I'd love to hear from you guys as well. So keep dropping us comments. But one thing that I have learned is, Martin, that I am my most creative in the morning.
Hmm.
That is my time. That's when I like to post content. That's when I like to really, have deep thoughts and reflect on, why I'm here, what am I doing. It sets you up throughout the whole day. So
Yes.
watch how your mornings are. If your mornings are stressful, if you're waking up and then immediately you have all of these things to do and you feel like you're doing a juggling act, calm your mind because it sets you up for the entire rest of your day
Yes.
for that same energy, that same level of stress and anxiety. And then you'll find it's a repeatable process continuously throughout your whole life.
Yeah.
So take some time and really digest and let yourself become relaxed in the morning, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that's what I was saying. That is the one thing I could teach people to do is what you just said. Start your day by getting into your zone, but by having a cup of coffee, relaxing, and you just said you naturally fall into your zone of genius in the morning. So just it's all we're all working in our zone of genius. We're all working in that space, by the way. The only difference is, are we aware of it?
Yes.
And when we become aware of it, then we have the power to actually use those creative powers to make the world we want to create the world we want to live in. It's not
Wow.
just about, those are our creative powers. We are really created in the image of the creator. We have the same energy within us, within our hearts, to create everything that's created in the world, because that's what we are. We are made in the image of the creator. That's that we've all learned all that. But what will keep you out of that is your belief that you're not, that you're something else, that you're not good enough, you're not smart enough. But I'm going to tell you, every human being that's breathing is good enough, smart enough, and a miracle and a precious blessing here for a purpose to live. And if you just find that purpose, your life will become wildly exciting.
Wow, wildly exciting. That is so powerful, Martin. You're going to inspire a lot of people. Here's somebody saying journaling is very powerful.
Oh,
I
I
believe
love
that
journaling.
too.
Yes, I love journaling. It's one of the, you're right, because it gets all that noise out of my head out into a piece of paper, and then I can look at it. Is that part coming from my zone of genius, or is that part coming from my fear? And I talk about both because I got to become aware of when I'm in my sort of ego, my shadow, my fear, my doubt mindset, or am I coming from my love, abundance, and generosity and zone of genius mindset? We got both going on at the same time. And
Yeah,
so a lot of the confusion that keeps us out of our zone of genius is the confusion of, where am I? So journaling is a great way, particularly if you do it by longhand, of being able to kind of get what's in your mind and clear the mind so that you can actually begin to tap into that zone of genius. So whoever wrote that on the thing, I think that's I've got journals at the journal at the journal at the journal. I just started doing that. I start every day. I mean, I start every day. Every speech I write, everything I do, it always starts out in longhand.
yeah,
And sometimes I never even actually put it on a computer. I just simply take whatever I've written and I'll create a speech or a talk about it from there.
yeah, absolutely. So whatever it takes for you to get into your zone of genius, do it. It may not look the same for everyone, but whatever it takes to tap into your true creative potential, and everyone as well, I believe is creative. For the longest time, I thought I wasn't creative. I don't know why we tell ourselves these lies, right? But again, these these are just lies that we tell ourselves. These are not created and rooted.
Well, I tell you right where they came from. They came from our childhood. That's where
Yes.
they came from. I mean, and our parents were doing it. I mean, I remember when I was a little. I used to love to dance. I used to love. I'm going to take this. I used to love American Bandstand, and I love to dance, and I love to watch teenagers dancing on American Bandstand. And I wanted to go on American Bandstand so bad, and I was like, I'm going to apply. And I said, you can't go on American Bandstand, and I'm like, but those kinds of things. Well, why can't I? If I applied, why couldn't I go on American Bandstand if I wanted to? But it's that you can't do this. You can't do that. You don't have the ability to do that. And I don't think people were ill mean. They just wanted to keep us. They wanted to move us towards something where I mean, I became a friggin' CPA for God's sake. I'm a terrible accountant. But you know how I became a CPA? Why I became a CPA? Because they were the most respected and they made lots of money. And I thought, well, if I become a CPA, then my mother will love me and I'll make a lot of money. That is not my purpose. I'm the worst accountant on the planet.
I won't go to you for taxes. Thanks for
Do
that.
not go to me for taxes. I don't, I can't, I'm miserable at that stuff. That's why, but I did that. I pursued that to prove I was worthy of
Yep.
life, basically.
Yep. It's funny. It's funny how we do these things to ourselves, but find your creative potential, find your creative power within you. Everyone listening to this right now has that spark. It's a part of finding your passion. What gets you out of bed in the morning? What have you always wanted to do, but you've never maybe been brave enough to do it? What drives you? What makes you excited? What lights a fire under you that nothing else does? Start going there in that direction, and your zone of genius will follow, don't you think?
I agree. It is a little exercise on that note you can do. You want to journal one morning, think back about your childhood. When
Yeah.
you were 4 or 5 years old, what was it you loved to do that brought you the most joy in life? What did you enjoy doing that was more fun than everything else?
Yeah.
That brought you so much joy? Write in your journal about that.
Yeah.
Feel your way back into that experience, because your zone of genius is an experience of what it feels like to be in that energy field. So one of the things you could do in your journaling is, and I do it all the time when I meditate, I say, well, tell me about something. Tell me something. Tell me what you love to do as a little boy or a little girl when you were 4 or 5 years old that brought you the most joy. That will immediately take you into your zone of genius.
Wow. It sounds, so complicated sometimes. I think we overthink everything in life, but it's really not. It's finding again what you were passionate about once before in your childhood perhaps, or what you're doing now may be a hobby, but does it drive you? Does it light a fire under you? Does it make you excited to live? Is it a reason you jump out of bed in the morning? Start doing those things. And
Yeah.
you can anything that you think of that, won't make you money, that you think of as just a hobby, trust me, when you operate in your zone of genius and with your purpose, success will come.
Success will come.
Yep.
You can't, it can't help but come.
It can't.
Because think about this, when you're in your zone of genius, you got the creative power of the entire universe backing you.
Wow.
And when you're connected to that power, that's what the zone of genius is. It's being aware that we are connected to the infinite, unconditional source of power that has created everything in the universe that is today, and it's going to create everything in the universe. And I'm going to tell you what in the future, and I'm going to blow another mind. When we talk about universal consciousness, I mean the entire universe. That includes life forms from other galaxies who are currently, if you do some science, you'll find that Earth is a relatively new planet in the universe, and there are life forms that are billions of light years ahead of us who
Yeah.
are all around us all the time. Some people call them angels, but they're here guiding us. They're here talking to us. And if you just slow down long enough, you'll hear them. So people say, "Oh, are there other life forms?" Of course, there are other life forms, and they're here to support human beings as we evolve right now. We're going through one of the biggest evolutions in the history of humankind. It's also known as the Venus star. We're moving in cosmically. We're moving into a higher, loving, more we energy focus. So that's me
Absolutely.
going off on a tangent.
I love it. And someone asked to me about, would love to hear about personal branding. So, one of the reasons I'm so passionate about personal branding is because it's my zone of genius. So,
Yeah,
and I did not know this 3, 4 years ago, even. But when I started, I used to be so shy, Martin. Can you imagine? Maybe you can't. It's hard to imagine. But I used to be so shy, so self-conscious. This year was actually the first year I'd ever posted a video of myself, went live, posted a picture of myself. And once I started doing that, I like the floodgates opened for me because I was allowing the world to see who I was for the first time. And I took those limiting beliefs and I transmuted them, as you say, into a different kind of energy that now became a magnetism for others to be attracted to me. Once I started learning how to really tap into that, and I realized that I could also take that and help other people do the same and watch them blossom and watch them become successful. It was amazing, and I realized that it's not just me. I'm glad it worked for me, but it's about how I can take that zone of genius and on a collective scale and help others do the same and achieve the same results. Because guess what? I don't have a limited mindset. When you have a growth mindset, you believe that there's opportunity for all. You believe that success is for all and anything is possible with the right mindset, with the right amount of action. So, whatever your zone of genius is, harness it. People will become attracted to it and success will come.
That is beautifully articulated. I completely agree. It's about a transference of energy.
Yes.
When you're in your zone of genius, and what you talked about earlier about people being attracted to us, then people are attracted to what they're attracted to. Some people, when you're in your darkness, and you can look at some of the political climate today, there are people who are operating from fear. They run from fear. They're dark, negative energies. And they live in a place of blaming the world for all the problems and all this kind of stuff. And they'll get a big following. And so there's, like you said, the things attract to each other. So if you're a person that lives in fear and doubt and scarcity, you might be tended to go follow a leader that's also teaching coming from fear and doubt and scarcity. So if you want to get out of that, if you want to break free of that, you're going to have to say, wait a minute, I don't want to live in fear, doubt, and scarcity. I want to live in love and abundance and generosity and excitement. I'm going to let go of that, and I'm going to say, wait a minute, I am worthy. I am this wonderful, precious human being full of love, and I want to make a difference in the world. I want to follow people who are teaching me how to do that. I'm going to be attracted to those. I'm because it's a mindset shift, right?
100%. It's all mindset. I'm a firm believer in that. You change your mindset, you change your life, folks. The absolute best thing anybody can do watching this program right now is to change your mindset and to develop a real mindset of growth, because when you do that, everything opens up. And I know the exact moment that I changed my mindset, how my life changed completely dramatically. And it didn't happen overnight. It was a work in progress, but when it finally clicked, the floodgates opened. Again, you go from scarcity, limited, shadowy feelings of negativity to then abundance. There's nothing you can't do, folks.
Yes. You tap into what some people call that infinite potential. That zone, I call it the zone of genius. Joe Dispenza calls it the quantum field.
Yeah.
Jesus called it the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
I call my business Heart Space. And talk about branding. I recently shifted my brand to Zone of Genius because people understand Zone of Genius. I had such a hard time getting people to understand, well, what is Heart Space and why would I want to go there? What would I? It's the same thing. But if I say Zone of Genius, people are like, oh, I know what that is. I want that. You see, and that's a recent shift in my own branding as a coach to be sort of a heart-centered spiritual teacher. I've moved it more toward a zone of genius coaching, talking about energy, frequency, and vibration. Because I'll tell you, unfortunately, spirit, and those kind of words which kind of have a religious connotation. There's been so much negativity and triggers so much story in your head about church and religion and all kind of stuff. I try to avoid that. I just try to keep it in terms of energy is spirit, and frequency and vibration is how that spirit we can't see, touch, and feel, how that energy is transforming and changing the world.
I love that. Everything is energy. Everything.
Everything is energy.
Everything is vibration, everything.
Everything.
So, and our thoughts are the same way. And we think of our thoughts as being confined in our own minds and having no bearance on our reality whatsoever. But they do, in fact, have a frequency and a vibration. So guard your thoughts,
Absolutely.
guard your thoughts, make sure you're thinking positively with an open mind and watch your life change. Again, it's really amazing. But we could talk golly all day, I think, Martin. I this may not be the last one because I think
Well, I'm going to invite you. I do a live broadcast every single Friday that gets turned into a podcast, and I would just love for you to be on my show.
yes, absolutely.
I'm going to send you, and when we get off of here, I've had so much fun with you today talking about something that I love, and we both have a passion for helping the world get
Yeah.
into their zone of genius, whatever that is, so they can live happy and exciting and fulfilling lives. I'd love to have you come on to my show and talk about this sometime. So I'm going to send you the link to my calendar, and we're going to get on there. And we're going to have
That sounds
another opportunity to talk about this same
absolutely.
fantastic
I'm
subject.
all over it. That would be great. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And if anyone has any questions for Martin, maybe after the show, we could put your information in the link in the comments here, your links, so that anybody can, just reach out and talk to you. But
Yeah.
especially your masterclass that's coming up too. We want
Yeah,
to.
I'll give you the link. I'll give you the link to my link tree. My link tree is Linktree at Martin_Cowart. That's where you can find everything. And if you go to my link tree, again, Linktree at Martin_Cowart, you will find my course. You'll find how to contact me. Everything is right there, depending on what you want to talk about. And I love talking about this. You see, I love talking about it. So if you're out there and you're what are those guys talking about? That was some weird stuff, but it sounded interesting. Send me a direct message on LinkedIn or Facebook, wherever you go, and I'll get on the phone with you and I'll tell you. I'll talk to you personally. I love talking about this stuff. So don't hesitate to. It's all about. My mission is to get you in the zone of genius, and if you're unclear about how to get there, give me a call. I'll be happy to tell you.
That sounds great. All right. Well, we appreciate everyone for tuning in today. Thank you so much, Martin. And we will talk to everyone very soon. Take care.